Morning guys, I hope you're doing well today. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I really appreciate it. Shout out to all the subscribers. Gratitude to anybody new, welcome along. This video we're going to be talking about boxing fundamentals. What are they? And for you, the beginner, I'm going to show you what the fundamentals are and what constitutes a good fundamental in that particular department, and how to get it much better. And by the end of the video, you'll have a firm understanding of what you can try to improve on and how to do it. Let's go.
Boxing.
First off, I just want to say thanks for taking the time out. Seeking out knowledge is, the first step to learning. Obviously, watching the video till the end to get all the information is the second, but application is going to be the most important thing you can do. After this, make sure you apply yourself. Without further ado, let's go, okay? Fundamentals in boxing, what are they? Now, first of all, there's probably going to be other videos out there that might say a different fundamental should be in the top 2 or 3, and that's fine. I'm not here to debate that. I'm just here to tell you, the beginner, what I personally think would be massively beneficial for you to learn and actually use as a fundamental. Yeah, they probably are in the top 2 or 3 of most coaches, but there could be different answers is all I'm saying. And I've got a bonus one at the end. And the third one as well is probably one of the most important that's not spoken about much. But let's start with the first one. A good jab. All right, this is the most important punch in boxing, period. It's the most versatile punch. I won't go into exactly its versatilities on this video, but I've made a lot of videos on the jab. I'll leave the link up here. I'm going to make a lot more about the videos on the jab because it is such an important punch. But for a beginner, this is absolutely crucial for you to get a good jab. Now, what is a good jab? This is part of the video I wanted to delve into, is like what to understand what a good jab is fundamentally. Now, having a good, consistent jab is probably going to be the key to this. What do I mean by consistent? Well, if you can throw a jab like this, boom, right? That's a pretty good jab. Boom. Can you do that 100 times out of 100? That's my point. How many mistakes are you making? Do you know what mistakes you're making? These are all important things to remember, and which is why I constantly try to remind guys to record yourself when you are training, even if you're shadowboxing for a little bit, because you'll be amazed at the mistakes that you're making. I'm going to leave a video of me practicing the jab in the gym the other week, and I do that because I want to get much better at it consistently, and I throw, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jabs every single day. But I want to record myself just to pick up on any mistakes, okay? Now, a good jab will be from a good stance. That's going to be in this video as well. You don't want to have any mistakes. I'm not going to go deeply into the jab, but essentially you want to throw it from your chin, elbows on the rib cage, and you're looking for that snap, okay? If you can't throw it so fast right now, don't worry about it. Just get the consistency for that, all right? Bring it right back to your chin. That's a pretty good jab. Boom, consistently, boom. Right, what you don't want what's called a lazy jab, where I'm doing this and I'm taking my time to bring it back to my chin. Where I'm doing this and I'm taking my time to bring it back to my chin. Right, that's not a good jab. You're gonna get countered with that.
Really perfect example of a Floyd Mayweather's speed and skill. He moves from a punch, counters and lands a punch, and gets away from another punch.
You're gonna end up catching a mean right hand. Bring it right back to your chin. That's a pretty good jab. Boom. Consistently. Another bad mistake, the right hand will drop like that, all right? That's not a good jab. I've talked about this in other videos. Another bad mistake is starting off like this. This comes back to the stance where it's called a bent arm jab, okay? The trajectory's all wrong. You're gonna injure yourself with the wrist. Your elbows are wide open. So, there's a lot of things that constitute a good jab, but for you, just to learn a good, straight, solid jab with a good snap on the end, boom, like that, keeping your hands up, nice and relaxed, boom. Bring it back, get that consistently for as many times as you can, over and over and over. Ideally with moving. This is where shadowboxing comes into play, and that's another big part of this. Shadowboxing will help you improve all of these, as it does for just about anything in the sport. But get a very good jab. That is a major fundamental in boxing. The second one, footwork. Footwork is probably the second or first, depending on what style you have, most important thing in the sport, hands down. Okay, footwork is probably the second or first, depending on what style you have, most important thing in the sport, hands down. Now, what is good footwork? Okay, it's going to be a complex answer, but for beginners, essentially, again, you want to minimize mistakes. Okay, you don't want to be too clumsy. I've made a footwork video, I'll leave the link up here. Highly recommend you check that. All right, you don't want your legs to cross, that's one. You don't want to hop around everywhere. You want to be as stealth as you can, and you want to be smooth while doing it. Okay, making minimum mistakes and moving in every direction that you possibly can go in, keeping it simple as well. Now, as I said, this is for beginners, so good footwork would be for you to start out doing this. All right, and if you can do that at a decent pace, it's a good place to start. And then you want to throw some punches in there too, but ideally good footwork is keeping your feet close to the ground, being stealth, you know, having a nice variety to start off with it for a beginner. When I say variety, I just mean in different directions. Step, pivot, you can shuffle. I haven't really talked about the shuffle, but there's side shuffles that I've spoken about. But good footwork does need a lot of practice, right? So you're gonna have to put the hours in, you're gonna have to do the shadow boxing. Watch the videos I spoke about and try to combine all the things I'm speaking about, like pivots, like stepping back, like side shuffling. I mean, there's far more than that, but keeping it fluid. But here's the most important thing, keeping on balance. That is the most important thing when it comes to, well, boxing is one of the most important things, but with footwork, you got to have good balance, okay? And if you don't have good balance, it's going to be harder for you to get good footwork. So, but you're going to need to practice that by yourself, get much better at it, understand what you need to improve on, add all the little nuances together, and get yourself really good footwork. Moving on to number 3, a good stance. This is so important because if you don't have a good stance, you're not going to be able to punch properly. If you don't have a good stance, you're not going to be able to defend yourself properly. Why? Because, well, you're not going to be on balance, right? If I'm standing upright like this with my chin in the air and I'm square on like that, I'm going to get tagged. My feet are right here, so I'm not going to have good balance to be able to defend myself. I'm not going to be able to punch properly because my shoulders aren't in the right place. Everything breaks down with a bad stance, okay? Everything breaks down with a bad stance, okay? When I'm like this is, you're a target, okay? My chest is a target, my stomach is a target, and if I'm like that, that's just one easy target. Whereas like this, I'm on balance here, my legs are bent, I can take shots here, it's harder to see my rib cage, boom, I can let shots go like here, I'm moving my head, still on balance, I can take shots here, if something comes in, I can cocoon up like a turtle shell. That's a good stance, at least the basics of it. So get yourself a really good stance, practice that shadow boxing, get some good footwork, and get a really good jab, and you'll be way on your way to being a really good boxer. The bonus one here, you're probably going to need a good little power shot or a good little combination. So a 1-2, that's really important as well. As I said, there'll be others that coaches can add, you know, being relaxed and other stuff like that, keeping your chin down, which is kind of having a good stance. But so I'm just here to try to guide you guys in the right direction as a beginner and understand that those 3 and 4 things in this video, I would work on those, especially, well, all of them really, because they all help each other, you know, the stance, footwork, jab, and a 1-2. And what is a good 1-2? Well, this is, you know, I'll make a separate video on this because there are some mistakes, again, you want to iron out. You want to make sure your feet are connected with your hands when you're stepping. You want to make sure your hands don't drop when you're punching. You want to make sure that it's, you know, the timing of it is really good, but that's a separate video. I have made a video on the 1-2. I'll leave the link up here. If I'm here, I'm out of range, right? I'm going to need to step to you. So I'm going to step here. So it's like you're stepping with a jab, right? But you're bringing this right hand through. But the key to it is to get the step, and the back foot has to come through so your right hand comes through. Boom. I'm gonna make plenty more because there's so much to talk about. Trying to squeeze it into 8 minutes here, but you know, hopefully I covered everything you guys need to know. If I didn't, let me know in the comments. If you want me to cover anything outside of what we already have, please let me know. I'd be happy to. You know, I've got a lot of videos on the way, but I really want to guide them to help you guys understand boxing a bit deeper, because this channel is for beginners and I'm here for beginners, and that is it from me today. I really appreciate anybody that's tuned in this far, especially. Make sure you try to get, you know, a bit of practice in every day if you can, even if it's a small amount. I am trying to be the best version that I can this year. I'm trying to overdrive with it. I'm doing a pretty good job so far, and my goal is to get you guys to be the best version that you can possibly be. And by that, we'll start with practicing. So I'm gonna get out of here and get my little workout going. Listen, have a great week, all right? It's Monday today. I'll probably get this out on Tuesday. The rest of the week is yours. It's a beautiful week here in sunny New York. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a peaceful one. Peace. I'm out.
Boxing.
Knowledge.